9 years is a pretty long
give me a
time.
second.
Whenever I want to.
Yeah, whenever.
Did you know that Woody Harrelson in 1984 killed 4 people and got away with it in an accident? And this is the Spill Center, the for only podcast that will lie to you on the opening of it. So I'm your host Mark, and this is my co-host Quad, and then this is my co-host Jake.
Hello.
We just got back from from watching Antman Quantumania, and that is the third movie in the Ant-Man trilogy and like the 400th movie in the Marvel universe. Um, so first reactions before we actually get into the breakdown of the movie, and I won't even promise that it'll be in order because holy shit, that was a long movie, and I'm very tired. What was your first?
I didn't really feel anything for it. It was pretty, like I said, it was just like lackluster. It didn't really have anything going on at all. Um, I think me and Mark talked about it earlier. I kind of wish that it had a little more stake in it, and it just genuinely didn't have anything. Um, so I was just like, meh. That being said, I did like I always forget his name, Jonathan. Person who plays King.
John Majors.
There we go. I always forget his name. Whenever he was on camera, it's very similar to like the tamarine and lemon conversation we was having about Bullet Train. What are you looking at? Is there a bomb down there?
Just burping and I didn't want to do it.
Just fucking. If there's something down there, you didn't tell me, nigga. We just saw the trailer for Boogeyman. I need to know.
Just look under the table and the boogeyman's just sucking my toes.
We'll come back next week. Maybe.
No. But I didn't really feel anything for it. But no, when he was on scene, he played the fuck out that role. Like I felt his presence on screen, but I didn't really care about anyone else. Like I was just like, and that's not to say. It was weird because like the previous Ant-Man movies, I actually liked for the most part. I feel like they're pretty much like my upper movies when it comes to Marvel movies. But this one I don't think it held up as well. That's not to say I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's a bad Marvel movie, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I didn't really find like I enjoy Paul Rudd as a person, so I also just enjoy his work. But yeah, I thought that the movie overall was definitely passable. I definitely had some expectations going into it that weren't really met. Like I thought to establish Kang as a threat, I thought that we would get like some kind of death by Kang, but instead it was flipped and Kang ends up dying. But obviously we're not going in orders by saying that. So so the movie pretty much opens with Paul Rudd walking down the street, like monologuing over himself. Everybody's like waving at him and saying like, oh my God, it's Spider-Man because it's like a joke thing, whatever. And he's saying about how he can't believe his life since the blip and everything like that. He's wrote a book. It was pretty heartfelt, it seems like, towards his daughter. They really wanted to pound home the connection with him and his daughter. Maybe pound wasn't the right word, but
what are you doing, stepdad?
if only. But I meant like, oh, well, that came out wrong. Whatever. Oh boy. Anyway, and then so yeah, you find out that Cassie is in jail or prison. I don't know the difference. Which one's worse? Prison? Jail?
Prison's worse than jail.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's not in the butt touchy one, and she's in a cell.
Still in the butt touchy one.
So she's in a cell, and Paul Rudd and Hope. I don't know who plays Hope. I don't remember her name, but Hope go to break her out, and then you find out that she has a suit I believe that's whenever you find out she has a suit, and she just kind of casually slides it in. You could kind of feel that there was points that weren't addressed in previous projects, but they needed to get them across, like the fact that Cassie was um, already doing things as Stature, and so she already had a suit. They didn't feel like taking the time to flesh that out, but they wanted you to know. You know what I mean? So, so this is like the opening, what, like 15 minutes, 20 maybe?
Probably around.
Yeah, and then you also find out about Hank and her, and I think it's just, and maybe Hope's in on it too. I wasn't entirely clear, but they were all working together to map out the quantum realm so they could go back in with a plan.
It seemed like it was what's his name? Hank.
Yeah, Hank's the
Hank
old guy.
and Hope.
Hope's
Hope
the
and
younger one. Janet's the older one.
and Hope and the person who plays Wasp.
That's Hope.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, Kathy, Hope, and Hank were the ones that were kind of in on it.
Yeah.
And no one else.
Is her name Evangeline Lilly?
I'm happy you looked it up because I can't right now because I'm like
Evangelion Lily.
I genuinely, it says played by
Which one?
Evangeline Lilly.
I don't know. We'll just call her Hope. I don't fucking know.
Hope. It's Hope. That is Hope.
Hope's the Wasp.
Yeah.
Janet's the one that was stuck in the quantum realm in the first movie. Hank's the old dude. Scott's Antman, and then Cassie's Stature, which is the daughter.
Mm-hmm. Which they don't openly call her.
But how did you kind of feel about them sort of like almost skipping over everything of like like I said, they wanted you to know that she was already doing the superheroing thing, but without like really setting it up at all. They just kind of, I mean, they kind of did in the first couple movies because like the little girl was like super sweet and was always like, I wish I could help Dad and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like, it wasn't to the level of we saw her making a suit or getting one made or training or anything like that. Plus, she can already go giant, which I thought was kind of crazy. Like that means that like Scott, it took him forever to be able to do that. I mean, maybe she's more talented with it, but still, you know.
Was that an on-screen struggle that Ant-Man had? Going giant?
Going giant thing.
I know that like he kept passing out. Oh, you know what? Totally. That was a thing.
That's why he said about the orange slices and stuff. Yeah.
I can go first. In regards to like that like them applying that she's doing like superhero work, I didn't really. It was like okay, like I kind of got the thought process that she wasn't exactly doing superhero work, but she had the suit in case things went like left.
Mm-hmm.
So like in case something like pretty much like popped off, she was pretty much just doing like helping the homeless, protesting stuff like that. That's kind of what she was doing, and she kind of just had the suit as like they getting the hoses out. Let's go ahead and
which is actually why she was arrested in the first place. I guess we should go ahead and say that now. She was arrested for helping homeless people because the cops, a bunch of people were homeless after they returned from the blip, and the cops were chasing them off with I think she said gas or something like that, and she like fought against the police and got arrested for it.
Do you feel like that was like really purposely done? Because like the a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests was happening though. Because she very purposely said like tear gas and stuff, which was like really prominent. So I wonder. So I kind of feel like that was like they very purposely like just like casually slipped that in.
That's possible.
For like one reason or another.
They probably would have mentioned it to a higher degree.
Get enough time with Cassie as being fleshed out as like a superhero before they were just like, here she is.
being said, I do like that. Like the gotta do better talking. Actually, talking to the microphone. I do like the actual like implication that like she's going to be better than Scott was because it's just obvious from the jump that she's just more intelligent. She can do things. The reason it was kind of implied, like you said, her going giant earlier, that she figured out how to do it faster than he did. So it's kind of like implied. But at the same time, I think we kind of all understand that like like the what we want to call them, the Ant-Man family, the Ant family, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that Scott was like the least like competent one of it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of a well-known thing. I mean, he just has like that sense of humor, but in regards to like combat or intelligence, he's kind of just like
he's lacking.
That's not his thing.
So we find out that going forward from there, that's at least Hank and Cassie, and I think Hope as well, we're working together to kind of map the quantum realm. Janet hasn't told them really anything about the quantum realm. She kind of is super secretive. She wants to leave it behind and just go on with their lives and leave it behind. But right as Cassie sends, I don't know if it's the first time she sends the signal or if it's just this time it seems to go awry. But she sends the signal and Janet freaks out and says, "Hey, turn that off." And she slaps the machine or does something to the machine so it turns off, but it was too late. It either malfunctions or Kang pulls them in. I took it as Kang pulling them in. And then they pretty much all slip into the quantum realm and get scattered around. I'm pretty sure Scott and Cassie end up together at first. And Janet, Hope, and Hank end up together. And at this point, I took a bathroom break. So, what happened whenever they initially got sucked down into the quantum?
Nothing particularly happened. You saw the part where Scott saves Cassie, like he like catches
from
her.
that giant like sun octopus thing.
Yeah.
So.
That pretty much happens. Nothing.
Oh, you mean whenever he goes giant?
He grabs
I was
her.
thinking whenever he did that, what if he accidentally just? I was like, oh, that was fast moving.
Did he need to catch her like that? Because when he goes smaller, he gets stronger, right?
He doesn't get stronger. He just
Maintains that.
he's like still as strong as a regular human, but he's way more compact. He's kind of like a bullet.
Okay, I see.
So it's kind of like a bigger.
I was wondering, I was like, would it have been easier to catch her if he would have went smaller as opposed to bigger? But whatever.
Bigger covers more ground, so you can like parachute it, kind of.
Nothing outside of that. We see they're together and they're like.
So we skipped the very beginning. The very beginning was Janet in the quantum realm before
a scout drone.
she got rescued. Yeah, before she got rescued, before Hank found him.
It's Kane's flying.
Hank showed up there as a castaway, I guess you could say.
When I saw that, I was like,
and he told her that he was What was he doing? Like, he didn't tell her. He got exiled.
He didn't tell her. Actually, we did.
Well, he said he crashed there. Oh, that's what it was. That's all he said. He just crashed there or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was the very beginning of the movie, where he crashed in the quantum realm, and then Janet found him, and then we got the Paul scene with him walking down the street. But yeah, at this point, then Janet and Hank and Cassie not Cassie, Hope, are all looking for what the hell do they call that guy? Fucking Bill Murray's character. That's who they're going to find.
Tyler? No.
Kyrer. It was like, yeah, because I remember. What?
I guess I can't really look that up.
What
his name was.
I mean, you could, but it's not that important.
Yeah.
And then you find out Janet is a hoe.
What is it? Hear me out though. 30 years? I'm walking around with a nigga with no holes for 30 years? Nah.
I ran like one.
No.
This nigga was whispering that and not.
That's why he said the movie.
Fully homo. fully homo. This nigga was like, that nigga was like you. For the rest of the movie. For the rest of the movie.
I said run. Run.
From the moment that they started the fucking rebellion to the end of the movie, he was like, "Look, look."
Look at him run. Look at him run just like it.
All I'll say about Hope, or not Hope, Janet.
I was telling Mark that he finessed that shit because he was like, "But baby, she wasn't like you though. She didn't get down like you. It wasn't you. Come on."
You really know how to get your elbows into.
But yeah, so she's looking for Kyre, which is this character played by Bill Murray that seems to be some kind of royalty. Oh, and then we didn't. They also, yeah. So, fucking Antman and Cassie both get grabbed by those village looking people. The fucking yeah, and then they're taken, and then they're forced to drink the goop, and then they can understand everybody, and then
Sorry, it's the ooze.
Whatever. I was at the bathroom for part of this. And then they can understand everybody, and then they did the weird mouth wiping scenes. It was odd, but yeah, you find out from the leader of the rebellion that Janet. I'm trying to get these names right and just say them off the cuff, but it's so hard.
I keep getting fucking Janet.
They're just such
Cassie.
generic white people names.
Cassie and Hope. I keep getting them fucking mixed together.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so which one's the little girl? Is that Hope?
No, that's
not,
Cassie.
It's not the little girl.
Whenever I stop to think about it, I got it. But as soon as I am saying it, I have to go through all the names till I get the right one, and it's always the last fucking one.
I hope Scott doesn't get these confused, or else that's gonna make things fucking weird.
Oh shit! It just depends on which one he says.
Janet. Only one of them are the right answer.
But you find out from the leader of the rebellion that Janet was part of that, but then everybody feels abandoned by Janet and shit. I was gonna ask a question, but I really can't think of anything to ask about this point in the movie. Do you have anything?
Did you guys care about? Because at this point, it's all about what secret is Janet protecting. I mean, we know as viewers what the fuck.
We didn't know the specifics of it. We just knew she had some kind of tie.
Well, we can kind of make it some type of. She helped him in some way, or something happened. Did you guys care about the fact that she was holding on to this secret so tight, even up to she's back on Earth? She didn't tell them anything. They got pulled into the quantum realm. She didn't say anything. They're sneaking around. She didn't say anything. And fucking Hank and Hope are like, what the fuck is going? Can you at least explain what the fuck is going on? And she's like, there's no time. Bitch, we had plenty of time on our way here, bro. You could have said you had plenty of time to say so much.
Yeah, I know that was just the point to move the story forward or whatever, but it definitely feels like something she should have probably said, even if she thought Kang was trapped forever. You don't think it's important to be hey, this guy that likes to conquer all of realities and completely destroys them, if he gets out, he's going to be an issue. Just so you know. I don't think he can, but just in case.
not even just that, but it was kind of fucked up that she knows that there's organisms down there, and she kind of indirectly destroyed all these niggas' lives. Yeah, she was just like, all right, I'm out. It didn't say, and then was just like, hey, number one, there's nothing in there.
It definitely got to the point where it was kind of pretentious that she was doing.
To think that Kang's incursions are going to be spurred by Ant-Man. It's just so strange to me. Thanos was kind of a collection of the Guardians and Thor sort of, and his own machinations, and then the Vision was tightly involved because of the stones and shit. But it feels like Kang is coming in because of Ant-Man.
because of you could say because of Loki as well, though.
Yeah,
that he's kind of coming in. But I understand your point. It felt like it was just like this is like.
I mean, Sylvie, really. If you really break it down to the fucking base of it, Sylvie.
One job.
Yeah.
I was like, hear me out.
Calm down, bitch. Calm down.
All of reality, we might need to like.
Yeah. If you break it down, it's Sylvie, and I wouldn't really even blame Loki. He's just there, really. Like he kind of helped her get there, but
isn't it weird that we kind of got to the point in that show where like Loki was kind of the voice of reason? He was like, "Bitch, hold on, hold on. I I care about power and shit, and I do." But we're talking about all of reality. Here, we should probably. And Sylvie was like,
yeah, it's just it's hard. It's kind of like the whole Star-Lord argument with Thanos, which, by the way, oh my god, it's because like Star-Lord, if he just waited 4 seconds to hit Thanos, whenever.
Fucking, like 2-piece, 3-piece him, just whatever he.
Yeah, whenever he wasn't, he didn't have the gauntlet anymore because they almost had it in Infinity War, and then he like bop 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 with the fucking barrel of his gun or blaster, and then he was like and like came back. Yeah, so that was all Star-Lord's fault. I know if Hefe was here, rest in peace, Hefe. If he was here, he would have definitely defended him. And but so I don't know. I don't even know how the fuck we got here. Oh, because Ant-Man's kind of the reason. It's like him and Sylvie, I would say. Like, but did you? I still. I know that they exiled. I know we're jumping here. I know they exiled Kang from the Council of Kangs. And do you think it's because he was the most evil? Do you think that was the problem? He wanted to rule them, but that's more of like a council of equal membership, and so he was trying to take over the council.
I think you're right. I think the issue was that he was just too much.
He was the king.
He wasn't. Yeah, he was the king of the king in the sense of like. It sounds weird to phrase that way, but yeah, like I think the issue was that it seemed like the three that we saw in the room, they're like the major powers, but it seems like they all are like in like a like an equal like status and power.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like maybe the one that was exiled, was gaining too much.
Maybe there was 4 of them, and he was getting more and more.
Yeah, he was gaining too much like influence and power and things like that. And they were like, "Yo, we gotta get this nigga," because none of them seemed to like him.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, none of them seemed to like each other except for the ones in the audience.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they were like him especially. They were like, "I'm glad that nigga's dead."
Okay, so if he was
The Kangiest Kang, if he was the Kang, he's dead, or at the very least, he's indisposed.
Well, I just think in terms of like, influence, and not necessarily like power in the sense of strength, but power in the sense of the following he was gaining in the army he was like amassing was probably like the issue of like, because it doesn't really seem like he was fucking Ant-Man. He was keeping Ant-Man and Wasp the fuck up, but like it didn't really seem like strength wise and combat wise he was like the biggest he wasn't like a big threat that we've seen.
He wasn't like Thanos fighting the big 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was.
So I think he was more like politically ish, more powerful than the others.
I do think it's weird how like before, like in the so so whenever Janet and them are talking to Crier kind of like turns them in because he now works for Kang, because Kang has pretty much taken over the quantum area, and that's why there's a rebellion against him and everything. And you find out that there's a mechanized organism designed only for killing, or MODOK, that is being sent after Scott and Cassie. Any thoughts on MODOK while we're here? Well, before we get into that, you can tell Quad loves this shit. Before we get into that, whenever Cassie and Scott this is all happening concurrently. So like Cassie and Scott are learning about the rebellion and stuff, and then Janet and all them are dealing with Crier and all that. You find out that MODOK was sent to capture Cassie and Scott, and then he shows up. He shows up to capture them. Him and his forces, I guess you could say, that are under Kang. They work for Kang. Show up and they're fucking everything up. You know, they're beating up the rebellion and everything and capturing them. And then you find that MODOK is someone we've seen before. But before we get to that, huge reveal, ginormous, really. I think that it's on the level of Iron Man, the reveal here. But so before we get to that, all the promotional material I've seen for MODOK was just him with that metal plate on. I did not think they were gonna go full fleshy head in the suit. They do. The reveal of who it is insane. I know I'm keeping you in suspense, but
it was so right because I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about MODOK. My experience with MODOK has always been like yeah. It's always been like the Ultimate Alliance games. Like he's always like a major like he's always like some type of boss in those games. That's always been like my introduction to him. So I don't even know like whose villain he actually is and like what he actually does.
Captain America villain. I mean,
but
like Captain America, Hulk. He's like a part of Hydra.
Oh, okay. But
he's supposed to be. Obviously, you can see the MCU went a different route.
But I was definitely like. I was definitely like, dog.
Like, did you think it was funny?
I think.
I'm a little surprised that he went out the way he did. Spoilers: MODOK also dies, because it's just weird. But the big reveal is that whenever at the end of the first Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket got sucked into the quantum verse. Whenever he got sucked in, the way he got compressed messed up his limbs and stuff and made them like he was pretty much just a head whenever he was found by Kang. And Kang regrew his body, but it was just like baby proportions for the body, but the head was normal. But it was like a normal size head for us and not in the quantum realm. So it was like a big ass head and then little body. And then he had his floating chair, which is why it's so funny for Quad, because it looks ridiculous whenever you have just that big ass head with those little ass limbs. And it does. And they did their best to keep it to the comic. I do wonder though, because like it's really it's a good decision. Like it really is a good decision whenever you think about like, oh, we want to use MODOK, but how do we make this a realistic as we can get it for on-screen TV, like movies and shit? How do we do that? The fact that his body was like pulled into the quantum like verse and like his proportions got fucked up and then he was regrown. I think it was done really well. Whenever you think about like the logic behind it,
I think if they would have had it in a way where like if they wanted to go a more serious route, like I enjoyed the comedic aspect. I think it was fucking ridiculous, but I was having fun with it, and I like that he was just comedic. He was just a comedic piece. He wasn't meant to be taken seriously. But if they did want to make him a serious character, they could have just had the metal on him all the time and just still explain it the same way. And probably, it could have been more serious role. But no, I just enjoyed it. They were just like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah,
what the fuck is going on?
Everybody that saw him was like,
what the
hell is his name? Darren? Yeah. They were like, Darren, what the fuck? Is that you?
But no, his presence on screen. Outside of Kang, who's probably like my second favorite element, because I just, even though it was like, it definitely looked absolutely ridiculous, and now that you said it in the sense of like, it makes sense for them to do it that way in terms of like explaining it and shit. Yeah, I can agree with that, but he's probably like my second favorite element because it was just so ridiculous, and it was acknowledged ridiculousness, like it was done on purpose. So I enjoy it.
To be the gag.
Yeah. So I definitely enjoy it. a lot. So
I do wonder, and I'm sure we're
if Yellow Jacket was gonna eventually end up being MODOK. What a way to reuse a villain too.
yeah, it's pretty
Like
dope.
it's kind of crazy that like they completely made he's two villains in the MCU canon. Like that's crazy to me. Like
Is
you wouldn't see that otherwise. Whole fucking backstory, like I'm some
what
kind
are you
of
talking about? That's your favorite character?
yeah but
Should
but
have seen it. He popped so fucking hard.
I was
for
like,
MODOK.
dude, fucking MODOK, yes. Me and one other guy I heard all the way on the other side of the theater was like, that's MODOK. Like whenever, as soon as they said mechanized organism, I was like, oh, MODOK. Like I said that to a quad, and then I heard somebody else say that over in the other part of the theater. It was like me and one.
Was I the only one who noticed in our theater, fucking when he was like introduced, someone fucking clapped. Like I was like, yeah. Someone clapped. They were like,
Fuck yeah, that's my favorite.
that's my fucking big head. Look, big ass head. That's my dog.
That's my dude right there.
God, dude, I've been waiting for this ever since Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Let's go.
Yeah.
I will say him being bald and his little bald.
Yeah, that was weird.
Or
That
I
was
guess it-
weird part for me. Well, to see visually at least. I mean beyond other things. But oh yeah, so MODOK succeeds in capturing Cassie and Scott, and they're imprisoned in the prison. And then so you find out through Janet after because they escape simultaneously while at the same time that Scott and Cassie are getting captured, Janet, Hope, and Hank all escape from Cryer and them. And so Janet gives the backstory on what happens in this time. At the same time, we get the prison scene.
She was like, I wanted some black people and fucked up the universe.
I don't think she fucked. I think she fucked Cryer. She might have fucked
No,
Kang.
she did fuck Cryer, but
Is that just your headcanon that she fucked Kang too?
that's my
Okay,
headcanon.
okay.
I thought that's where they were going for sure. with
I
it.
also thought it was gonna be like a love.
So good to have someone else.
When you play it on that tone, it was too good to not think about Henry's ugly.
In the backstory, you find out that her and Kang spent a lot of time together trying to repair his chair, which in the comics is a real thing. He has a throne that he floats around on, and that's how he time travels as well. And the sphere, there's like a spherical object which is like the engine for it, and that gets damaged whenever he crash lands in the quantum realm. And she helped him fix that after like a long time of trying to fix it. And as soon as she touched the chair, it's linked to him mentally. So it's like a neuro thing. So whenever she touched it, she saw like past things that he was doing to other timelines and universes and stuff, and found out that he's Kang the Conqueror. Did he have a name that he told her that he was called before she found out he was Kang, or did she just not know a name?
No, no. I'm going to assume that he told her that his name was Kang.
Okay.
Because it didn't specifically say, but she does say like who is Kang.
Mhm.
But I guess if you think about it too hard, you can just be like she could have got that from the chair too.
Yeah, that's kind of.
But I just assumed that if I'm telling somebody about my daughter and about my fucking depression and my mental health on that shit, that I at least know your fucking name, you know.
I don't know, man. She was with nobody.
She could have made up
so long.
any name she wanted. She could have. I'm Timothy. He would have been
him?
like, no, her.
It'd be really funny if she was telling people that his name was
So yeah, you find out that that's kind of why Kang's hunting her down, because she trapped him in the quantum realm by messing up the engine after she found out he was Kang.
I'm not very cash money for the dude.
Yeah, I mean, whenever it stops the universes from being conquered.
I get it.
But
Black guy wants to conquer this universe one time.
I think it was interesting. Do you think you would have taken Kang up on his offer whenever he said, like, because she said, "What happens whenever we?" Okay, whenever, because they both answered already. She says in the movie, "What happens whenever you get out of here? You're just gonna go on conquering universes," and he was like, "But not yours." So, do you think, first of all, do you think he would have honored that, and secondly, do you think would you have taken him up? You both.
I do think he would have. I think he would have honored it because I did get the impression that we were meant to feel that he was genuine, that he
sympathized,
that he actually did genuinely feel indebted to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like he would have upheld, like, I just won't fuck. I mean, I'm gonna destroy a couple of shit, but your shit, listen, babe, you got it. That's you. That's you.
These other houses, but not yours.
You got it.
Yeah, but
But also at the same time, Scott was kind of fucking around too much. I was like, he's like, dude. But also, I am seeing also seeing Janet's presence. I feel like was definitely supposed to be like an indication of like him already being aggravated now, and he was just like, dog, just give me my shit.
Yeah.
And Scott was like, how you gonna demand someone who has you in a forced chokehold? That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
In the prison, at the same time that we're getting this flashback story, Kang is trying to convince Scott to go down into where the original fight between him and Janet happened, to shrink back down the engine so that he can reuse it, because it still, I guess, works. Like, they don't have to fix it or anything like that. It still works. It's just huge now and out of control. So it's Scott's job. He's trying to convince him to go down and like get it for him and steal it back, I guess you could say. And the way he convinces Scott to do this, because Scott doesn't want to, because it's clearly not something that is going to benefit him in the long run, he like tortures Cassie, which I thought would have, since he can control time, I thought it would have been kind of cool if he did kill Cassie like once, just to prove how serious he was in that moment, without like, and then just rewinding it real quick.
I think that would have been, if it was a rated R movie, that's what we definitely would have saw.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think it's PG-13, like the most of the stuff, I think it's PG-13. I think that it did a good job of the implication of that's what was about to happen if you didn't give me my shit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's what the feeling.
But I do think that if this was like a rated R, they would have had to do that.
Yeah, and I think that would have been cool. Like,
I was like, but.
Like if he just turned her sideways and ripped her in half.
Like, yeah.
And then Scott was like, no, and then he just was like, just kidding. Now I'll do it though.
Well, I would see you fuck
with
me
he was just gonna sling.
You think about it like on its own, like if you're just gonna see that scene, you just see Scott against the wall and then Cassie, and he's like, leave her alone, and he turns her sideways and he's like, all right, I'll do what you want, just don't put her back up, she's got vertigo.
Like if you aren't paying attention, it does seem really weird. Yeah. But I think he was breaking her arm. I think that's what was happening. Because I did see his like an arm break. Because like that side, basically he was crushing her. That's basically what I saw that, but like if you like missed that, like the tightening of like her body, you were like,
he should have.
Is he just spitting this bitch?
Redo healer that shit and fucking broke.
Don't say that.
Okay, no. Okay, very specifically broke.
In this hentai / like anime that I watched.
We're going in a different direction.
It's like it's like a soft corn anime.
Soft porn.
Soft core, my bad. It's like so it's like
Weird time.
so it's not like so it's not like straight up. You've seen soft core porn. But in one of the scenes, he's like you tortured me. So he finds out he has the power to rewind time. So he's like if I could break all your fingers and you don't cry out once, I'll let you go. And he's like breaking her.
Happened in stock for porn.
Yeah, it's an anime.
Okay.
It's an anime. It's like a
There's
hentai.
a lot more leading up to it.
No,
and
but-
we won't
no,
get
You
into-
watched it too.
No.
I told him in
I
detail.
haven't, but Quad tells me a lot about.
But like basically he like don't watch it, bro. It's so crazy. But like he basically
What's the link?
he like he basically like he like breaks her fingers one by one, and then when he gets to like the 10th finger, he's like rewind. Anyway, time to reset. Type shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think that like he should have actually done something to cat, even if it was just like an arm break from like here, just like ah shit, you know. And Scott could have been like, "Ah," and then fucking it would have been more convincing to me, and not and I didn't even and then the thing is about like the fight later on that kind of got me is with one finger, Kang was throwing these motherfuckers around. Like, just flicking his finger he pushed MODOK against the wall and was like fucking crippling his little baby ass. And then he fucking did the same thing to Scott. And then he was flipping Cassie around with one finger. And then it seemed like by the end of the movie, he's kind of almost depowered. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he wanted to personally get his hands on them. But at the same time, like, you could have just been like, whoop, and then just fucking pile drive them into the ground like 4 times and it would have been over.
It also could have been down to like.
But I do agree that it did seem like really weird that he seemed like in that rebellion fight, and even though I do know it was like a lot of motherfuckers, but it did seem weird. But maybe it was just the style of how he wanted to eliminate them, as opposed to like I'm just like torturing you versus I'm going to eliminate you like with these fucking laser beams. And then I think we can kind of like I think you kind of infer that it was just erase people from timelines. That's kind of what the difference was.
Yeah.
So yeah, Scott agrees reluctantly to go ahead and dive into the core and shrink it down and try to get it back for him.
Shrink that shit down, Papa.
And then so like he leaves Cassie with Kang and MODOK as well. And he gets down there and he starts losing his shit because the closer you get to the core, the more of your like sanity gets stripped away and whatnot. And then at the same time that Janet's giving her backstory, they're flying in. Hank's flying them in this alien spaceship where he has his arms in 2 really big pocket pussies, and then he's flying them in, and Janet ends up diving out and diving into the core at the same time, and they're both splitting into. Yeah, Hope. See, I knew I was gonna do it. And they're both splitting as the closer they get to the core, the more they're splitting into multiple versions of themselves. And it's kind of like fraying their sanity. They can't know that. Well, mainly you see this with Scott, but you don't know which one's the real one and stuff like that. But then eventually Cassie comes through on the intercom, and while Scott's drowning in his own doubles, I guess you could say, when she comes through, they all start to try to work together to get to the core. And then even though he gets to the top of the pile and he shoots his shrinking disc thingy, it doesn't work. It bounces off, and then he like I guess in a moment of like disparity starts sinking, like falling down on himself with all the other versions of himself. But then Janet catches him, and then it seemed like symbolism to me whenever this happens. But whenever I'm not Janet, fucking Hope. When Hope catches him, it's almost like they complete each other because they both become like not one with each other, but like all of the doubles, all their doubles get sucked back into one person.
I think what's like the implication of like we're now just focused on this. Like now it's like both of us here, we can just focus on what we need to do as opposed to like possibilities of what could happen to the other or other things along those lines. I think that's kind of what it was supposed to be. Um, I said this to Mark, but as I was watching the scene, I completely fucking forgot that Ant-Man can't fly. I was watching the scene and I'm like, why isn't this motherfucker? I was like, up until this point, I was like, why isn't this motherfucker flying? And then I was like, oh wait, he can't. And me personally, I would have asked for them to upgrade my suit. That's bullshit.
That's probably the flying Ant-Man.
That's kind of bullshit, dog.
I got limited to an ant. I'll be B-Man now.
Timeline and
I don't think I don't think like 100%. Because they kept saying probability, so I just think every version of him was just a version of himself that could have been a possibility in his reality because he was like in that thing and it like fucked with like the multiverse and stuff. So I don't think it was necessarily like the different version was like necessarily different realities, but like possibilities that could have happened to him personally.
so it's just him.
At it, but another Scott wants to shoot a growing thing at it. That split decision splits him in two. And then if, say, the one that wants to shoot a shrinking thing at it wants to grow and shoot at it, but the other one wants to stay the same size, that splits them into two.
Okay.
So it's every decision he could have made was causing a new person to spawn, pretty much.
And one of them was like, "Yo, what if we would have just kept working at Baskin Robbins?"
Yeah, pretty much. And then that's one of the probabilities was what if he never became Ant-Man. I think because it started with like the simple ones of like which disc to choose, and then it just went further and further. And I think eventually you probably would have seen different versions of Scott as well. But I think it speaks to Scott's character in the MCU that he, for the most part, except for one that I could see, was always Ant-Man. You know what I mean? It's almost like it was gonna happen no matter what. Kind of like a what do they call it? A fucking
Manifest destiny.
no. See, I literally just had it, and you said that. Now it's gone.
Gone forever.
Fucking, I hate you so much right now. But so anyway, Janet and Scott both end up shooting. Which this part was kind of weird to me. It seemed like they shot. Well, they didn't shoot them. They took them and threw them. A handful of shrinking and growing ones, because there were red and blue ones in there, and it shrunk the core back down to its regular size. Which I don't know that works that way, but okay. And then it shrunk down, and then everybody kind of like congregated on the same spot. It was like Janet. It wasn't Hank. Hank got attacked by MODOK in the plane thing and ended up crashing in the distance. But
I'm the ultimate weapon.
Designed only for killing. But that was good, Luis. But Janet, Hope, and Scott all are at the same spot, and Janet's like, you can't give him the orb, and Scott's like, he has Cassie, and like, I don't remember what the fuck Hope was, where she was in that situation. I know she was standing there, but I don't remember where she was on that side of the argument or whatever. But then Kang shows up, and he was like, you can give it to me, or I'll just take it from you. And then Scott was like, well, where's my daughter? And then Kang says something to the effect of, she's better off without you. And then he uses his force powers to just pull the orb away from him. And then what happens after that? Do they fight him?
They tried.
Oh, they tried, and then they got
fucking. He beat the brakes off him. He was like
easily. easily handled. And then that's whenever Hank's copter thing goes down because MODOK was attacking him, and Janet tries to run, but then he just freezes her. This is what I mean. Like, he's so powerful up until they need him to not be this powerful. He just freezes her in her tracks completely, opens a portal to his hideout, and then he walks her through it with his, I'm assuming, control. I can't imagine she would just walk with him. And then that portal closes. It just was... He was so powerful until he didn't need to be powerful anymore. You know what I mean?
It could be implied or inferred. I agree with you. It did seem really weird, but I guess if we take in consideration that this nigga had like a building collapse on top of him, maybe he was just fucking. We're supposed to assume that he was hurt or whatever the case. Because my thing, I was watching. I'm like, how is Ant-Man about to beat him? There's no fucking way. And I actually wasn't kind of sad. I wasn't satisfied by the way the answer showed up and shit. I was just like, okay, but I do agree. It does seem like he was a little bit deep powered, and maybe it's just something we missed.
Actually,
But
now that
Freeze, buddy. So what happens right after he closes that portal? Where do we go from there? Is it Hank or no? Where, like, cause something. Do we follow Cassie? Is that whenever Cassie breaks the leader of the revolution out? Because Cassie's not there. Cassie was still held prisoner. So, because the guards are walking her to a cell, I assume. And then she uses she uses a growing disc and a shrinking disc. She grows the one dude, he shoots through the fucking ceiling. And then she shrinks the other guy and she kicks him, yeah. And then out of... But then, like, on top of that, she shrinks herself, and then there's, like, 4 guards come, and then they just don't notice the dude sticking into the ceiling now. Like,
it's just fucking Tommy. We hate him.
I don't know what just happened here, but I'm ignoring it because we don't like him. But then she proceeds to find the cell to the leader of the revolution, which I don't know if she probably got a name. I don't know it. I don't know if you guys caught that, like the name of her.
I did have it, but I completely fucking
Oh, you know what? Her name was Taserface.
Wow. Okay. But yeah, she breaks her out, and then they're like discussing a plan or whatever. Should I keep talking?
No, you're good.
But they're discussing a plan, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have a plan. My plan was to break you out." And then she was like, "Do you have a plan?" And then the leader of the revolution like lays out a plan of like breaking out the people in the lower cells and then trying to fight back or something like that. And then she's like, they decided to go with that plan. And then after that, I believe that's whenever Scott and I don't know where Janet's. Oh, Janet's on his shoulder. Yeah, so I think Scott shows up at Kang's place because Kang's starting to get his shit together to take everything to the regular sized world, I guess you could say, out of the quantum verse. And Ant-Man shows up, and he's like the tallest I'm pretty sure he's ever been, which is great, by the way. I fucking love the taller he gets, the better it gets.
I mean,
Acting like a fucking woman.
not really, because he was in the quantum.
At scale wise than I think he's ever been. Like if the size of Kang City was a regular city, that was the biggest that Scott's
I
been.
really just hit you with a. Actually.
Yeah, you
Fucking
did.
nerds.
Now you're banned. Wait till you get the Hefe treatment. They're gonna be like, "What happened?"
He already died, but I don't care. We're gonna finish this audio out.
Okay. Yeah, you need a better camera, battery wise,
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck.
or at least to just plug it in. Whenever
I've never actually
we're
had it. I've
recording.
never actually had it die like that.
Oh.
The first time I got it messed up, it was just like jumping apart. But I don't. This is the first time I had it. It just like straight up died. They never charged me again. But I didn't care. I saw him big and I was like, I'm big too, nigga.
I enjoyed seeing Scott, because Scott Lang and Paul Rudd in general, I guess you could say, is a very comedic actor. Like he's very got the comedic chops and shit like that. But you don't really see him be serious too often. So the fact that he was like, as Antman at least, was genuinely angry for once, and like, you didn't keep your word, you tried to keep my daughter, shit like that, keep her from me. I think that was kind of cool to see, because he was motivated now.
Where did the
It definitely is interesting that you like that thing because I didn't care for it. When he was like, "Our orders are bond," and I was like,
It wasn't necessarily what he was saying, it was the
I do understand the intent. I was like, dude, pick other words. This is kind of our orders are bond as like the armed niggas you brought with you are like dying
or just
fucking
pick none. That shit would have been so menacing. Him walking out of the fog the way he.
I think when it comes to this movie, I don't know if I was supposed to take it seriously, if I was supposed to just fall into like the comedic aspect of things, because it seemed like it didn't know, because it would just switch up. It was just at some moments it was more like Kang on the screen, very like menacing presence, just like don't fuck with me, and then you have fucking Mordor, whatever the fuck his name is, Murdoch, fucking Murdoch, with the George Lopez,
more and more fucked up.
with the fucking George Lopez head, like making jokes, and so I wasn't sure in what direction they were trying to go with the genre of this movie, so it kind of confused me because looking at it in a comedic standpoint, purely comedic, I would enjoy the movie, but because they had scenes that I was supposed to take like really serious too, it kind of like threw me off, and I was just like, I'm not sure which way. I feel like they didn't do a good job of like mixing those two things necessarily.
I mean, that's just kind of the MCU at this point. They're trying to find a balance between comedy and seriousness that I don't know that they've quite completely figured out. At least I think they had it with like some, like, I think Iron Man had a good balance, but like as soon as you take that characteristic of Iron Man and start copying and pasting it to every other character, like it seems like they do, that's whenever you run into the issue of like, how am I supposed to take this? Because not everybody has the same sarcastic, funny charm of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and at the same time can just switch and be completely serious in the same like movie. You know what I mean? I think that's the problem that the MCU runs into more often than not, is the want to be a comedy but at the same time be taken seriously.
I
funny when Kang was like, "Are you the one with the hammer? I've killed a lot of Avengers," and he was like, "No, that's Thor. No, I can see how you get us confused. Same body type." Like that shit was actually pretty funny.
It's crazy. It's crazy you say that because I feel like the previous Ant-Man did it perfectly as far as mixing like comedic aspects and like the seriousness. Like
with Ghost.
yeah, I feel like those were so it was really weird that I was kind of like thrown off.
I mean,
in this one,
I just realized that
it's
Ant-Man's one friend wasn't in this fucking movie.
previous one like fucking him when him and Yellow Jacket literally had an entire fight on a fucking toy train in
That was the first one.
in the very first one,
Mhm.
and I was like, this is funny, but it was extremely fucking funny, but also when it fucking zoomed back into the actual fight, it was like, oh, this is also really serious. So it was really weird that like the other two, I felt like did a really good job mixing the two, but for this one, I was just like,
Do you think maybe it's because
They're introducing in the more direct capacity Kang, and he's supposed to be the next Thanos for the MCU.
more than likely because he has such a big like menacing like presence on screen. That probably was like the issue of I think they might have picked too big of a villain for Ant-Man to do the standard version of comedy that he usually does.
But also, like they couldn't have
Captain
done
America
that.
4.
I mean, you also
That's a joke.
needed,
That's a joke, by the way.
I
Don't.
was gonna say, you also needed a reason, like Kang hasn't been interfering.
Which I think him being trapped in the quantum realm was a good way to do that. Because whenever you think about the whole Thanos situation, like they already have an issue where it's like, why weren't the X-Men involved? Why weren't the Eternals involved? Which I know they explained the Eternals already, but why wasn't Kang involved? You know what I mean? Like all these other like huge powers of the universe that just weren't there.
Sorry.
This nigga. I do think me and Jake were trying like because before like we still don't know if this universe is Kang.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I was
saying?
actually-
We still have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he wasn't from this timeline. It seemed like they just fucking exiled him
Mhm.
to the fucking quantum realm and was just like, good luck. But this doesn't seem like the 616 is like his universe at all. So I was thinking the whole time, where's the Kang that's been here the entire fucking time? Like, where is he just plotting? Because it didn't seem like because he's not the one that we saw in Loki either. That was a completely different universe that we saw.
Yeah.
So we still have no idea what the 616's Kang is, and I wonder maybe they'll say like it's like Iron Lad or some shit in the future.
Well,
I have not necessarily a theory, but like a thought on that, more close to the end. But yeah, so this is whenever the rebellion starts. MODOK starts. They end up breaking out the lower prisoners, but then MODOK kind of catches up to Cassie and tries to kill Cassie. And then Ant-Man's rushing the tower, and there's all these ships coming at Ant-Man, and then Wasp tries to help with that, and she starts shooting some down, but they're still getting overwhelmed. There's just too many. But that's whenever the rebellion forces. Oh yeah, I guess we skipped over completely the fact that Cassie intercepted Kang's like hologram intercom thing to rally his forces. Instead, she intercepted it and rallied the rebellion against Kang. And then so as they're getting overwhelmed by Kang's forces, all these rebellion ships start flying in and start taking some out. It looks like a full-on Star Wars fight here. And then finally Ant-Man runs up to the city and he grabs like something, I don't really know what it is, but it looks like a shield almost, and like stabs it into this holographic blue light thing that's supposed to keep him out. It's like a shield that keeps out things, and he's like stabbing it through, but then eventually it ends up knocking him back or something like that.
That was stopping like the spinny things that were around his chair. Like the big ass.
Well, it was protecting that. You're talking about the shield, right? The
Yeah,
blue
yeah, but-
holographic shield was protecting that.
Yeah, but whenever he had like the building shield thing.
Oh yeah, it was
It was
was jammed
that.
in there, yeah. And then like I think it eventually overpowered him and like came down and pushed him away, which then allowed the shield to come back down.
No, a lot of you Ant-Man should probably lift some weights. Didn't he, like getting big? Probably be like
Yeah, if he was
like,
better at fighting.
if he was the size of like Batista.
Imagine, yeah, like if he was like Batista and Ant-Man, that's two different things. Batista's
He's just the fucking
no.
he's just the armored titan.
Just fucking moved down to break down some walls, motherfucker. Fuck you, man, this barrier.
Starts suplexing Kang. It's Brock Lesnar. But
Fuck Batista bomb, just like.
But then it's like MODOK is chasing Cassie this whole time that the Rebellion's fighting and Ant-Man's fighting, and then she's finally like, screw it, I'm gonna hope it works out, and she hits herself with the growing thing, and she does grow pretty big, and then she turns and fucking conks MODOK pretty good and knocks him out, and MODOK has like this change of heart moment, which I mean doesn't.
God. Never seen a nigga get hit so hard to have a change of heart.
Yeah,
just fucking. I apologize for my outburst.
I'm genuinely sorry. You hit me so hard it changed my brain chemicals.
God damn, you made my big ass head bigger.
Yeah. So like he's like, oh, I don't know what to be or how to be it, and she's like, just don't be a dick, and that's pretty much how that starts coming full circle. I'll remind you. But so then they're trying to figure out how to get into the shield, but Wasp ends up carrying Ant-Man whenever he's small and flying into the shield and then like throwing him. And then whenever she throws him, he grows really big and then like drop kicks the shield, which completely just takes it out. And at this point, we're in the final battle here. And Kang's pretty over this shit. So he starts fighting directly. Is the thing broken at this point? The portal thingy?
No, it's not broken.
No, it's not broken yet.
No. It never like actually gets like it's not like activated. Like they like deactivated, but it's not like broken. Like it if he won the fight, he could just reuse it. Yeah. Essentially.
Okay. So yeah, then I'm pretty sure at this point they start fighting. Janet's doing like as soon as Kang's not in the room, Janet starts fighting the guards. And then she gets free and she sabotages the engine, I'm pretty sure. And then so yeah, you get the fight between and Cassie and Scott also reunite during the time that Kang's doing whatever the fuck. And whenever they reunite, they're both giant whenever they reunite, and then she kind of like, I really want some lime or something. And he's like, right, citrus. And then she like starts to pass out, and he catches her and shrinks with her as she shrinks. Honestly, that whole time they were hugging and stuff, I really thought Kang was gonna like burst through Ant-Man's like stomach or something. Like, yeah, I was like, holy shit! Like I was fully expecting that whole time for something to go wrong. Like, you know what I mean? And then nothing happened. I was like, okay.
It is kind of nuts that by the end of it, but that doesn't help Kang's case.
See, the thing
now he looks like a baby back bitch.
See, the thing is like out of the people who could die, they had very few options, right? No one would have really cared if Janet would have died because she only got introduced on the second movie, and so she was kind of in and out.
Yeah, Dia was introduced in the first one.
Yeah, but we already assumed she was dead already.
Yeah.
So she would have died, came back, and then died again. So it would have been like, okay. I feel like I'm not sure if Hank dying would have had like a really big reaction or not. Maybe not. So I feel like the only options to really kill off would be Hope, Cassie, and Scott.
I think what if they killed off Cassie?
That would have been insane. I think Hope was the prime target there because, like, Hope was the thing driving Janet's decisions. Hope is the thing that would have affected all of them almost on an equal level. I think Cassie to a slightly less degree than the rest of them. But I think as far as, like, Scott, Hank, and Janet go, that would have really fucking solidified, like, we have to do something about this. And I think could have pushed them to fight even harder. But I don't. And so, like, they're losing pretty good. Scott, Janet, and I don't think Cassie was part of this fight. Was she part of the fight? Was she? I don't remember. Well, they were all losing. Like, they put up more of a fight. This is the point where Kang felt like he was depowered now. Because they were putting up a pretty decent fight against them 4v1, and then he starts winning. What?
Am I the only one who noticed this motherfucker was just... It looked like he started having fun while he was, like, eliminating people with the blaster.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he started having so much fun.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that
like
point.
He was, like, genuinely enjoying himself. He was, like, stepping into it and shit now, just fucking...
Yeah.
Just fucking two-stepping.
Oh, almost got it. What?
Yeah, he was shooting these beams that were, like, legitimately just blipping people out of existence. So it was pretty crazy. Why didn't he use those against fucking Scott and Janet and Hope and Cassie? I don't. It's more depower bullshit that, like, yeah, you can use your overpowered shit against fodder, but not Ant-Man. Come on now. You know what I mean?
I'm not actually sure. We just kind of got to go on an assumption that he just was just fucking tired of killing people. He was
the conqueror was
not tired. No, I mean, like, literally not tired of killing people. Tired from killing people. He was like, oh, if I didn't fight this army before I got to y'all.
Yeah, because then the army's running away, and then they run like opposite the army, like through them, and that's how they kind of come face to face. But yeah, they're losing pretty good. But then Hank shows up with his army of ants, which is the first time in all of the MCU so far that I have seen glimpses of Ant-Man in Hank. Like, him watching the ants just pour past him like almost like a fucking liquid, like water, it was crazy because it was the first time I was like, oh yeah, Hank was Ant-Man. Hank was Ant-Man before Scott, and this makes sense that this would be a thing. And these are super intelligent ants, by the way. These are not regular ants. These are ants that Scott has, I think it was Scott and Cassie actually, made together that made them self-sustaining. Like, they had their own technology and everything. And whenever they were in the quantum verse, because they got sucked in at the same time that everybody else did, they lived, I think he said 1,000 years of making their own civilization, their own technology, advancing more and more. So these are super fucking intelligent ants. And they're like swarming Kang. Kang's shield is up. He has a shield up. They're swarming Kang. They can't quite get through. They're getting through a little bit. But then here comes MODOK with his change of heart into the side of the shield, and he says something like, designed only for killing. He screams something like that. Or no, he says, I'm not a dick, or something.
No, he says, I'm Dylan, or whatever his name was.
Oh, he says, I'm Darren, and I'm not a dick, or something like that.
I'm not a dick.
And then he, like, takes his tentacle things out and slaps them around, kind of, and then, like, blows himself up, which drops the shield, and Kang gets swept away by ants. And then... what a fucking way to go. Imagine if that was Thanos. That's what I'm saying here.
Also, for the people who are, like, in the comments or wherever you're watching this that are like, actually, we saw Hank be Ant-Man in the animation. Shut up. We're not talking about that right now.
He was also a flashback Hank.
We're not talking about, context. You understand what we're referring to.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, this is the first time I personally felt like this is Hank as Ant-Man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jake's in the comments already.
In the What If series, when he killed all the Avengers, he was Ant-Man.
So yeah, he gets swept away, and then Darren has his whole weird Darren. He doesn't want to be called MODOK anymore. Earlier he wouldn't respond to being called Darren. Now he doesn't want to be called MODOK. He's a flip-floppy ass character, but he's like as bad as the Big Show. You know what I'm saying? But so he's dying, and he's like, well, before I go, I know I was an Avenger, and I was just like, what the fuck? And they were like, yeah.
It was like, yeah.
You did it, buddy. Good job. And then, yeah.
I always looked at you like a brother. You did?
And then he does the whole, like...
Oh, and then he does for a while, to the point where it's uncomfortable.
enjoyed doing as he went out doing it. He was a hero. Darren died a hero. R.I.P. Darren and Hefe. So yeah, then Kang, I actually don't, does he just come back? Like, is that just because he ends up like, do they, so how, what is that?
He had a snakes on a plane moment. So they were trying to Janet was like, yeah, I can open the portal. And as they were going through the portal, Kang shows up and stops Scott from going through.
That's what it is.
And
yeah,
then
like, I can open it for just enough time for us to get through for plot purposes.
Kang showed up and proceeded to put paws that I've never seen in a while in the MCU. He was like, think I need this fucking suit to beat you? You play with ants. Who do you think you are?
You're not even the first Antman I've killed this week. He's been stuck in the quantum realm for a while.
Just fucking, I don't pieced him the fuck up. Yeah, he was comboing the fuck out of him.
He was definitely
fucking
beating the dog wieners out of Ant-Man.
Like, when was the last time we saw like someone get fucked up like that? Probably
in Shang-Chi, I'd imagine. That was pretty kung fu heavy.
yeah. But I don't
one-sided.
Yeah, it's just like so one-sided.
I mean,
I was about to say
Go to sleep.
I was about to say
that wasn't one-sided either. Iron Man was hoping that would be over.
I was about to say Winter Soldier and Captain America versus Iron Man, but that was a pretty even fight for the most part.
What about Hulk versus Thanos? Because Hulk rushed Thanos on the ship and like got a couple hits in, but as soon as Thanos figured out Hulk was all rage and no technique, he like pieced his ass up pretty good, and then slammed him, and then he like pieced him out. Well, Heimdall pieced him out.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see. I don't know if we've seen like someone just get their ass beat. Yeah, maybe that. Maybe since that, because Scott stood no chance. He was like,
he got a couple good hits in though.
I feel like Kang was letting him get, because he didn't seem like to affect him. He was just like,
he did on like 4 separate occasions. Do the fucking, I didn't hear no bell.
I really thought after he got up, because there was a point whenever Scott just stands up and he kind of like gets back in his fighting pose. I really thought he was gonna say, I can do this all day, like you know how Cap does. Yeah. I really thought he was gonna, and then he didn't say shit.
I can do this for a couple more minutes.
That would have been awesome.
After that fucking stomp that broke his helmet, he was like, bro, I don't got that much of you, dog. Listen.
Did you know that Ant-Man don't got that dog in him?
Listen, the only thing I can do is make sure we both lose, pussy boy.
Yeah. I'm gonna blow us both up, bitch. And then he really did. He set the timer. He did something to that fucking core, and it was gonna explode. Or implode, it looked like, because it sucked Kang in eventually, but...
I think the only reason it sucked him is because he destabilized it.
You think that's what it was?
I think if no one went near it, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just happened to be kicked into it 4 times before it did.
Yeah.
But he beat up Scott to the point where he was about to walk through the portal, but then Janet walked. Well, she was shrunk, so you couldn't see her. But she was. I wonder how much of that fight she watched before she was like, I should probably do something now. What?
No, wait, she walked through the portal.
No, she didn't. She blasted him. Yeah, she blasted him. And she didn't walk through, she just was there. So I feel like she came through shrunk. and then like,
Blink.
and then she blasted and then got big and was like, I just watched you kick Scott's ass for 4 minutes, and I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah. And then she
But she was like, but I'm not gonna fight you. I got a gun.
you bang 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 bang.
Which I would have done. You gotta shoot that. You gotta shoot that nigga.
It was effective. They kept knocking him back, and eventually he touched the core and got fucking sucked into it. And that was the end of what I thought was gonna be Prime Kang, and apparently not. But yeah, and then they go to during that fight. I'm pretty sure the portal closes.
Yeah.
And I thought they were gonna be stuck there because that's how
That
it
would've
kind of seemed like what was
I
gonna.
knew they weren't gonna be stuck there because I feel like they showed us the machine that which one Cassie built at the beginning, and she's like, if I would have had this when you got stuck in it before, I would have found you. I feel like I was like.
But it wasn't mapping whenever they were stuck though. So like, because the whole point was that it could map, but with like the drone. But everything got sucked in. There was no.
Yeah, I kind of would have been. I think, in my opinion, it would have been dope if. It would have been maybe it would have been a little dope if, because of the way the time works in the quantum realm versus
If time had passed.
like because fucking Janet broke that shit.
Mm-hmm.
She did whatever. So I was like, what if it would have
took them back to like the
what
80s.
if it would have taken Cassie a little bit of time to like actually like rebuild it? I'm not talking like 5 years like the blip, but like
long enough to where they could.
How do you mean to do that though?
Time you also have to have Cassie doing others. Like, she would be so focused on getting them back out because she would consider it her fault that they got stuck in the first place, that I don't think she would have been able to be like in the Young Avengers or whatever else was set up for her next.
right.
So I feel like leaving them trapped there would have halted her character development and her character like team ups, I guess you'd
I mean,
say.
it could have halted it, but it also could have been the driving force behind her character. Of like,
Yeah, I mean,
I have like, cause the entire movie, she's like, we have these responsibilities, we have to do this and all this stuff, and now because of me, 2 heroes are now trapped here. I have to like take up this mantle of, not that Antman really did anything, but Wasp did. She was fucking doing all that environmental, growing trees, shit, and all that stuff.
Ant-Man wasn't doing anything at the time besides writing his book and riding the coattails of its success, but if she had pulled him out of the quantum realm before he got set free by that rat in the van in the Infinity War, he's the catalyst of why they had the tech, like why they knew about the quantum realm and why they were able to go back in time and get all the fucking Infinity. So if Ant-Man would have been sucked out early, they probably wouldn't have beaten Thanos.
Actually, you just hit something, because you know what's really weird about that? What's really weird about that line is that she didn't know he was in the quantum realm. She had no idea. She thought they thought that he got blipped too.
Yeah. Did he get stuck in the quantum realm at the end of the second one?
I don't know.
Is that why he was? Yeah, because it's in the post-credit scene. They were like, "Oh, we're just gonna go in for a couple minutes," and then him and Janet both get sucked in, right? Or is it just him?
I think it's just him.
Oh no, he gets sucked in, and then they all get blipped.
Yeah.
And then he's stuck in there. So yeah, she wouldn't have known that.
No, so no one. So it was. So now that you said it, that's a really weird line, because she wouldn't have known. One, she was like 7, but also they wouldn't even fucking know he was in there, because they just assumed he died, because his name was like on the memorial that they had.
Yeah, that is strange.
But
yeah, so then they end up the doorway closes, and then you hear all the rebellion celebrating, and then they kind of seem like they're gonna keep them there in the quantum realm, Janet and Scott at this point. But now that I remember that Scott got stuck in the quantum realm at the end of the second one, it kind of makes sense to why they wouldn't want to do that again. That's very, very repetitive, back-to-back movies doing that. So the doorway behind them opens back up. But what I was thinking was going to happen before they just cut off and fade and like just went to black, I was thinking another Kang would step through as they were trying to step through.
That would be fucking nuts.
And then they were like, dude. And then the movie ends. Like, you know what I mean? Like a different Kang
Actually,
steps through.
That probably would have been a better way to end it, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, then it cuts to black, and then you kind of get Scott walking down the street again, and he's monologuing about like, oh, my life's so weird, and it's crazy, you know, nobody knows, but I just saved the quantum realm, which by proxy saved the world, and nobody really knows. Everybody just is going about their day, and I'm so great. And then he starts having a fucking panic attack. Like, wait a minute, Kang just said actually that if he didn't get out, all the Kang, something bad was gonna happen, and what if I just doomed the world? What if everybody I love dies? And then he just goes into deeper and deeper and deeper.
Hey, I don't like my mental health being displayed in a movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. See, it's one of those things like, yeah, okay, you're in a situation where you're probably gonna act before you really start thinking about it. But at the same time, if the Kang that he ended up disposing of with Janet, I guess you could say, was like, if I don't get out of here, worse shit's gonna happen. I would have at least been like, hold on, tell me what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
To bring up another weird thing is that Janet knows that there's other Kangs and what they all do. He told her, like this Kang told her, so she's fully aware that there's other Kings, and that there was like a there's like a multi-dimensional world war going on. So she's like aware. So it's also kind of odd that she just wasn't like, hey, I know we gotta kill that one, but we might need to.
Janet just holds a lot back. It seems like in a weird sense.
I feel like she wants it to be out of sight, out of mind. It's
You
just
kind of can't. So yeah, he starts having that panic attack, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm sure it's fine." But clearly, that's not gonna be fine. And then he picks up a cake.
Made it Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of Cassie's birthday parties all at the same time because like he's missed a couple, and that's kind of where it ends. But then you saying about the 616 Kang, and you can tell by Scott's face he's like stuck in that thought process, like he's thinking about it, he's distracted by it. You said about the 616 Kang not having an appearance yet, and I was thinking like at the end, like as he's zoned out and thinking about all that shit, maybe like a waiter walks up to him.
I was waiting. That's what I was waiting for.
And like gives him his food, and he's like, "Is there anything else I can do for you, sir?" And it's Jonathan Majors. Like the 616 Kang is like just a waiter, but then like not always is gonna be just a waiter, but like right now he is. So then that's Scott's thing going forward is watching this waiter constantly,
or
like just being like, I don't trust this motherfucker at all.
But like eating, but like there,
or like eating or something, like a
yeah,
customer,
that's
like he's looking across the room at him.
That's what I was waiting for as well. I was like, this motherfucker's here somewhere.
Yeah, like he's in this building, like you know what I mean. Yeah, I was waiting for something like that too. That also didn't happen. We pretty much, I'm pretty sure we end in that diner with Scott looking distressed and everybody else having like a good time, kind of forgetting about it, thinking they got rid of Kang. But clearly, if you stuck around for the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, the post-credit scene something else, but the mid-credit scene was the Council of Kangs, and these three in particular. One looks like an Egyptian god,
Ramatut.
and one looks also like an Egyptian god but different. And
I don't know the other two.
And then the other one looks like a suit, like a futuristic cyborg kind of guy. And they're like, "How many did you gather?" And they were talking about like that Kang being disposed of and how they wish they were the ones to kill him and stuff like that. But then the problem they're coming to is now that Kang was killed by an Antman and the Wasp, they think that they're touchable now. Like they think that these heroes are starting to figure out how to dispose of the Kangs. So now they're going to meet and probably take out all these heroes. And I think this is where we're going to start seeing Kangs pop up all over the place, different Kangs. Those three in particular, but probably a primary Kang as well that I thought would have been the Jonathan Major ones from this movie, but I guess maybe that's not going to be the case. Yeah, so the one, I think the cybernetic looking one, asks the Egyptian looking one of them. I thought they both kind of looked Egyptian to me. But he asked him, "How many did you gather?" And he says, "All of them." And so then they pan out, and all these Kangs are like coming in, and they're opening. I don't know if you noticed this, but from Loki there were TVA portals. Like they're opening TVA portals and walking through. It's not just like a regular doorway or anything like that. Like it's the TVA technology that they're using to walk through these portals. And and then there's like a whole audience of Kangs and they're all rowdy and shit. So there's gonna be some problems that spur from this movie, that's for sure. So
Speaking of Loki, that was the second post credit scene too of panning back to Loki and being in that universe, which it seems to be like like a noir themed universe or something along those lines. I'm not sure what that was, but we can assume that that's where Loki season 2 is going to take place. That he gets what was that character's name? Morbius.
yeah.
Something like that, to like believe him, because that's a different version of that guy.
That's confusing.
It is, because I do remember that, because the movie, that vampire movie, and this was coming at the same time, and so
boy Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Is it
Lightning
Morbius,
McQueen?
actually? No, I'm not sure.
No, it's not Mobius. It's something close.
Oh wait, is it Mobius?
What's the vampire's name?
Morbius.
It's not that. It's something very similar to that.
Morpheus.
Maybe.
I don't think it's Morpheus.
I don't think it's Morpheus. That's Matrix.
Matrix.
That's Matrix. But it's something very close. It's close enough that people thought that Owen Wilson was going to be playing Mobius. That it was close enough to that. But that's pretty much really solid. I think it's a solid recap of what we saw.
That was the movie. So I mean, and we kind of touched on
It is Mobius.
It is Mobius.
We kind of touched on our thoughts of different things throughout the movie, but I think if you had to generalize your thoughts and your expectations moving forward, where would you think things are gonna go, and where do you think, what are you excited? I think the next movie is Guardians. I don't think it's gonna have anything directly tied to the Ant-Man stuff. I think that's gonna be its own thing almost. I don't really know what the lineup is. I can't quite remember. I don't know when the next time we might see a Kang would be, is what I'm saying.
Give me 1 second to look up, but Jake, you can go ahead and give your.
Degree. I think that making a singularity isn't a bad idea, to make like an ultimate Kang almost. But at the same time, I feel like since you're dealing with so many different universes and so many different multiverses and stuff like that, it's kind of beneficial to have all of these different Kangs so that they can all go out and strike down different shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I could also see it being like, well, first of all,
I get what you're going for, but it kind of seemed like their alliance was based off of necessity, as opposed to because they actually are an alliance. It seems like the king that got exiled. Like I said, I think he was like they were just like, you're doing too fucking much. You're getting too much. Let's get rid of him, and then we can go back to like the war. You know what I'm saying? But now that Antman of all fucking people killed a king, they're like, dog.
Batman can do it. The Hulk control.
But to answer your question from before, so this is actually the first movie of Phase 5.
Oh, I didn't know that. And Phase 4.
Black Panther.
Oh, Black Panther, yeah.
So next is Guardians. After that, it's the Marvels.
We could maybe see a Kang there. Maybe.
Captain America: New World Order, Thunderbolts, and then Blade.
We'll see. Besides maybe the Marvels, I can't really see a Kang being dropped in anything there. Maybe Captain America, like at the end, maybe like one walks through like, Captain America, you look different in this universe.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily they have to have Kang in a prominent role in all of these movies.
Well, no, he doesn't have to
But
be in all of them.
They could almost do like the Thanos thing where he wasn't in like any movie up till fucking like.
But he just had
Infinity War.
He just had secret. There's also TV shows that he might be able to appear in. Like we also got Secret Invasion, Loki season 2.
Loki, he'll definitely be.
Another What If, Ironheart, Echo from Hawkeye.
Yeah, but that's like a level thing.
Agatha, Cabin of
it's
Chaos, and then Daredevil.
Marvels do like okay, so the comics have a thing where it's like street level, like city level, cosmic, mystic, all this other, and it's starting to go that way with the MCU as well. Like Agatha is mystic, and so is Blade, and they probably won't tie directly into the main Avengers shit, which is what I consider Kang to be. Or Daredevil and Echo is street level, so I don't think they'll be in there either. Like, they might help with the fight against, like, if there's a bunch of Kangs pouring into the fucking world. Obviously, they're not just gonna be like, no, that's an Avenger thing. I'm not an Avenger. But I do think that, like, as far as their storylines go, you're not gonna see a Kang in any of those, I don't think.
They're definitely not gonna have that Tony Stark.
I don't know what they're gonna do from Kang from here. I assume that it probably will be like a Thanos situation where he was kind of like setting up things. Mm-hmm. Like, with the first movie he sent Loki, and then the second movie he was kind of hoping Ultron. I don't think he set Ultron up, but I think he was like hoping. He was like, because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Age of Ultron post credit scene was Thanos finally like showing up and like putting on the gauntlet. I think that was Age of Ultron.
No, I think that was the first. After Loki failed, the first Avengers movie, because he was like, "Fine, I'll do it myself." You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Because like Loki was sent, like that Loki's job was to get the fucking Tesseract, which was the Space Stone, I think it was. And then whenever Loki failed, that's when Thanos was like, and walked out.
I think the Tesseract was the Soul Stone.
Get out of here. We're at probably like 130ish, 140ish if I combine both. What far as where I think I don't know. I think it'll be fine. I know a lot of people are like, this is like the worst thing that MCU is going down, but I'm like, me and Jake had this conversation sometimes. I'm like, I feel like people forget that the early like Avenger Marvel movies weren't that good. Yeah, like you got like Iron Man. Who the fuck was watching like Iron Man? The first Captain. I feel like Captain America had like a pretty good streak. the first Thor.
I think Iron Man's 3 movies, as long as you can ignore the stupid Mandarin shit from the third one, are actually pretty solid.
But
the
like,
first couple Thors are bad.
but I don't. But I think people forget that it took them like years to set up the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
took,
not
like,
everything in the first like 3 phases were like
yeah,
fucking mint.
no,
you know what I
like
mean, the
they.
whole way through.
But so I feel like I feel like people want to ignore that and jump straight to Infinity War Endgame. They're like, it's falling off, and it's like, but yeah, that was the finale of what 10 years of work, maybe more than that, depending on like if we count pre Iron Man, like if you count the production that was going into Iron Man before it was released.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be fine. I think the person who's doing Kang, oh my god, Jonathan. Oh my god, John. Oh my god, fucking that man's name up, bro. I think that I haven't seen. I know he's very popular, like in like more like black shows, and I can't remember exactly what he was in. But I think his role in King was cast perfectly. We saw like seeing him in Loki versus seeing him here, and how he pretty much nailed how those were two different characters. And I was telling Mark in the theater that he's literally playing like so many different characters in this one role, and he's nailing that shit.
Yeah.
Like the way that he's able to like even like the very minute things of separating that yeah, we're Kang, but we're different. So I think in that regard, so I think his character is fine. I think we have like a really solid um major villain that's going to obviously show up later on. Now as far as I don't think we'll see him for a while. I don't think we'll see him. I don't think we'll see him in this phase. I think this was just like
in 5, you mean?
Yeah,
I think we'll see him maybe at the end.
I don't think because I can't imagine him really having anything to do with Blade or maybe the Marvels. Was maybe
the best bet here.
But I I think the MCU is in like a pretty decent place. I think they're trying to find a space to where we're so used to hero is the create a problem. Like they're the reason that this problem is happening, and then they're trying to fix that problem. And I think that Marvel's trying to get out of that formula that all the early stuff had. And to get out of a routine, you kind of have to get a little uncomfortable a little bit. As far as like, for example, like the Multiverse of Madness, which was them dipping their toes into a more horror element of things, and going with the Deadpool 3 movie, which is going to be rated R.
Yeah.
So I think that they're trying to create try to get out of their formula and try to like kind of hit other markets a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
I think the biggest issue that they might have is I don't think they figured out how. I think the movies for the most part are pretty good. I don't think there's been a movie that I was just like, meh. Well, not like that. I was like, this is terrible. I think there's been movies that were bad for maybe like in comparison to like Endgame and Infinity War, but I think what they're really lacking is just the TV shows. I think if they can nail down like the formula for how they want to conduct their TV shows, it'll be fine. And they have examples of like with like Hawkeye and Moon Knight that the TV shows can be really fucking good. So I think Marvel. I think they'll once they figure out how they want to do everything and what directors they want to take the lead on and stuff like that, it'll be solid.
Yeah, I think Marvel's in a good split, good pace, good place. Good lord. But yeah, that's probably gonna do it for our podcast on Ant-Man. I think that the general consensus is good. There's some issues here and there, but I think that for the most part, we all enjoyed it, and we're all excited to see the future of the MCU. And regardless if it was bad or not, we probably would have watched the next thing, because the next thing is Guardians.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you want to do another rating?
Yeah, like what's your rating out of 10?
I give it a 6-7. I give it a 6-7. But we just talk about Morlock, dog. Gotta give that a 10, dog.
Don't even know his name.
Don't know his name.
Talking about more
I enjoyed it. I don't have any really crazy problems with it. I'd probably say about a 7 as well. So I think probably 6 to 7 across the board. Like I said, it's middle of the road, and it's it's serviceable. It's a setup thing, I think, and I think it does the job. And I'm like I said, we're excited to see the future of it. So that's gonna be it for the Spill Center today. We'll have this uploaded as soon as possible to stay on top of the movies that are coming out. And yeah, if you have any complaints about upload times, it's this guy over here. But but all right, that's gonna be me signing out with my co-host Quad.
Peace out.
And Jake.
All right, bye. I gotta piss, man.
And that'll be it. Bye.